Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Discussion Series. And today I thought I'd get this one out here before the next episode of the Undertaker's Last Ride documentary is shown. And I'm here to talk about episode 2, The Redemption. And I've just finished watching it and I really enjoyed episode 1 a lot. I thought it was very well made, very well told. We got to see a lot of stuff happening leading up to WrestleMania 33 and his match with Roman Reigns, but I didn't think that would be topped, but episode 2 certainly did prove me wrong. It was very enjoyable. We got to see more of The Undertaker's life outside the ring, and we got to see him watching his match with Roman Reigns, and Undertaker has always been known for wrestling a match and never watching it again, so to see him going back and re-watching his match with Roman Reigns was very insightful and very, very interesting. And we got to delve into his relationship more with his wife Michelle McCall and how they met, and his relationship with Vince McMahon and how they feel about each other, blah blah blah. It was a very good episode and I really enjoyed it. And the name Redemption, the word if you will, really spoke a lot of volumes in this episode from start to finish. And throughout this episode, Undertaker, aka Mark Calloway, is on this quest for redemption after his performance with Roman Reigns. So he's basically a man on a mission and determined to have the better performance. So we got to see more of that. And one of the most painful things and emotional things that I saw on the documentary was seeing The Undertaker laid up in a hospital bed getting ready to have his hip surgery. And it was very graphic and very emotional at times because, you know, as I've said in the previous video, Undertaker's always been known as this larger-than-life character, and he very rarely shows pain. And to see him being just a man, because he is just a man, made of flesh and blood and bone, you know, was quite an eye-opener. And when you see him talking with the doctor about how many surgeries have you had, he just kind of chuckled and said, "A few." So that was quite very insightful, and it's quite funny for a guy like The Undertaker who's had more surgeries than you can imagine, and he just laughs it off, and he talks about all the different surgeries he's had: eye surgery for his eye sockets, his fingers, knees, you name it, and it's like a laundry list of injuries and surgeries. And Undertaker even says that if not for those surgeries, I don't think I would have had the career that I had. So one thing I did like also about Undertaker in this documentary is he's a very humble man, he's a very prideful man, and he takes such great pride in presentation, not just for himself but to the fans. And you really, really see how disappointed and disgusted he felt in his own performance against Roman Reigns. He even said to his wife while I was rewatching the match that I looked like a bloated Elvis. And, you know, as I said, I've watched the match with Roman Reigns. I think bloated Elvis is a little bit strong. He could have looked better, I admit, but I've seen 10 times worse with other guys. So, you know, Undertaker didn't look as bad as he made himself out to be, but he could have looked a lot better. So we also saw his relationship with Vince McMahon, and Vince was asked, how much does Undertaker mean to you and to the company? And he got all choked up and he wouldn't even address it on camera. So that really spoke a lot of volumes there. And Taker even said himself that I would take a bullet for Vince McMahon because he gave me an opportunity all those years ago when nobody else did, and he's not just my boss, he's like a father to me. He's like my brother to me. You know, we have such a close relationship. I would do absolutely anything for that man, and that's one thing I will give credit where credit is due to the Undertaker. As I've said in the previous video, he's such a loyal guy. I don't think I've ever seen a guy who's more loyal to the company than the Undertaker. And we got to hear bits from Kane as well, and Kane said that if you're loyal to Vince McMahon will be loyal to you. And I thought that was a real nice way to not just sum up the relationship between those two, but just relationships in general. So that was quite nice to see. And we saw Vince and Taker talking about a new contract. We never really got to hear that conversation, but from Mark's words, his words were, I don't know if I'm coming back. I'm pretty much done, but what I'll do is I'll train, get prepared, and if a guy goes down injured or if a guy's not available, I'll be there. So we got to see that, and it was really cool to see Undertaker training. And his training is very intense, and you see him moving up and down inside a ring that was sent to his house. And yeah, it's really, really cool to see him working out. And I have to give credit where credit is due to Michelle McCool. She's a rock to him. She's an absolute rock to him. And I think they said that Undertaker lost 30 pounds. Wow. And you could really see it, and it really showed. He looks absolutely fantastic. And I love the relationship between Mark and Michelle. It's really, really sweet. And they talked about how they first met, and they asked him, what made you fall in love with her? And he's got such a funny, dry sense of humour. He said, well, it wasn't the blonde hair and blue eyes and, you know, amazing body. It was the fact that she could throw a football. So it was really nice that he's so humble about her. And it's quite funny to hear her side. She said, well, there was two guys I didn't want to work with when I first came into the company. That was Kane and Undertaker. And Undertaker laughed and said, well, she met Kane and learned that he's one of the nicest guys in the world, but then she ends up marrying the other guy. So that was really funny to see the nice banter that they have as husband and wife. So we also see Undertaker at the Royal Rumble in 2018, and Michelle McCool made a little appearance in the Women's Royal Rumble, and it was quite nice to see a little role reversal, because Michelle McCool's always been at Undertaker's matches and watching, so to see him on the other side watching his wife perform was very, very refreshing. And he was just in plain street clothes, had a hat on, jeans and a shirt, so it was nice to see Undertaker as being a normal guy, almost like a fan, so to speak. So that was very, very nice. And we got to hear from John Cena, and he talked about, we had to bring Undertaker back to WrestleMania. That was what the story was about, going to WrestleMania 34. And the fans just want to see him so much. So we get to WrestleMania 34, and Undertaker made his return. And the way they did it, they kept his return very secretive and very quiet, on the low. So they sneaked him into the arena, and you see him getting ready and making the final preparations before he comes out. And he said that I trained for a 45-minute match, but I was out there for less than that time. I would have liked to have been out there much longer. And he has the match, and he looked absolutely, fantastic and better than ever, even though the match itself was only like 2.5 minutes, but he looked absolutely great. And he went backstage and hugged everybody, and everybody congratulated him, and he gave a big hug to the boss, and he went straight to Roman Reigns and said, I feel really bad about last year, I wish I could have given you more, I'm really sorry. And Roman Reigns doesn't really get enough credit here. I know a lot of fans don't like him because of the big push that he's had in the past, but when you separate the character and the man, Roman Reigns is a really nice guy, and he has so much respect for Taker, and you can see that everybody respects and loves the Undertaker, and it really showed in this episode. So overall, I thought episode 2 was equally as good as episode 1, if not better. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Got to see more of his life outside the ring, as I said at the beginning, and got to see his training preparation and him having his surgeries and him losing weight. That's probably got to be the highlight of the entire episode. To see him lose that much weight was just phenomenal. One other thing I wanted to point out, there was a little bit of foreshadowing here. Taker was backstage and he was watching AJ Styles wrestle, and he said, "Yeah, I wish I could have got to work with that guy. He gets it. He reminds me of Shawn Michaels." So there's a little bit of foreshadowing there for what was to come a couple years later in the WrestleMania 36 Boneyard match. So little hints there. So that was kind of cool to see that he thinks very highly of AJ Styles. And in my opinion, AJ Styles is quite possibly the best in-ring worker in the entire company. All due respect to the others, they work just as hard, but AJ Styles, for me, is the man. He can have a good match with anybody you put him in the ring with. I don't think I've ever seen a guy quite like that since the days of Kurt Angle in the Attitude Era / Ruthless Aggression era. You know, a guy who can just carry someone and give them the best match possible. And AJ Styles is that man. So lots of great respect there from Taker to AJ Styles. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now, and I'm going to drop this here for you guys. What did you think of episode 2 of The Undertaker's Last Ride documentary? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was good as episode 1? Are you looking forward to episode 3? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. I want to hear all about what you think of episode 2. And I will see all of you next time when I talk about episode 3 of The Undertaker's Last Ride documentary. So till then, take care everybody and stay safe.